talk about, basically, using ServiceNow and the cloud to build custom solutions, platform as a service solutions, add-ons to your existing, ITSM product suite that's kind of native to the ServiceNow platform, and using that to build a learning management system with learning modules, tailored to your specific user base, and then also using gamification to basically crowdsource, the people that you already have in your organization to, create learning materials, take your existing SMEs and motivate them through, game mechanics and gamification to create learning modules for the rest of the organization, and use those learning modules, take it to the rest of the user base, and kind of ramp everybody's skills in aggregate and track, track the learning and track the certifications within the organization on each of those learning modules. So real quick, my name is Chris Dow. I'm the Director of the Platform and Products team at Fruition Partners, and I'm joined today by our architect Sal Costa and Shane Brazil, who's our Principal Evangelist and Architect on the Products and Platform team. So just before we dive in, just a quick overview of Fruition. So we're basically an IT service management consulting firm. We were founded in 2003. We have a global client base of certified ITIL professionals and cloud thought leaders. And we have a number of ServiceNow integration specialists. All of our consultants are cloud developers trained on a specific development platform and experts in ServiceNow development and implementations. We have 200 customers in North America, 100 plus employees, and we're growing at a clip of about 5 or more a month. We have 3 offices. We have basically the main office in Chicago. We have an office in San Diego and an office in New York. And just to talk about our service lines, so basically we do a lot of process consulting. That's how we got our start. We started as a IT process consulting firm. We do program development and project management. We have skilled resources in IT service management, automation, and also designing basically ITIL processes and architectures within your organization. We develop basically pragmatic implementations that are turnkey and make sense, relative to your existing business processes and to the ITIL framework. We also do education. We have a 5 years experience with education. We do we have basically certified trainers that do ITIL version 3 foundation certification. We also deliver custom courseware and training classes to your organization, and we also have a number of trained ServiceNow specialists that will deliver an introduction to ServiceNow, advanced admin training, scripting, service catalog, or any of the certification coursework that comes native from ServiceNow. We also do cloud automation. We have 60 plus cloud developers working on over 130 clients, doing platform as a service, custom applications on top of the ServiceNow platform, or rolling out kind of some of the existing technologies within ServiceNow, including obviously the ITSM product suite, discovery, training, runbook automation, you name it. So essentially, basically, premier ServiceNow partner. We do, I think, more ServiceNow implementations than ServiceNow does, with over 120, and over, I think, 60 in-flight phase 2 deployments after the ServiceNow instance is stood up, and basically 70% of we do 70% of the 2011 North American phase 1 deployments. Just kind of rounding out the experience with ServiceNow and Fruition. I mean, like I said, we've been around since 2003. In the beginning, we were platform agnostic. We would basically use whatever tools you had, whether it was BMC, Remedy, CA, HP. But then, obviously, because we had a decent book of business in the ITSM space, we quickly became familiar with ServiceNow and decided to partner with them as it was a best-in-class offering, and kind of surpassed any of the other platforms that we had experience through our service management consulting practice. So, essentially we're trusted with key work at key engagements to do strategic implementations, process consulting, platform development, and like I said, deep bench of expertise in runbook discovery, automation, software license management, asset management, basically anything that the ServiceNow platform offers natively. So today, we're going to be the team that's giving this webinar is the platform and product team. We specialize in custom application development. We take the building blocks that come natively within ServiceNow, the same things that make the ITIL and ITSM product suites great, like workflows, tasks, user roles, email engine, notifications, and we build best-in-class scalable enterprise solutions on the ServiceNow platform. A couple examples of these are basically a Medicare Part D application. It's a custom ticketing solution on top of ServiceNow that handles Medicare claims, tracks and maintains audit records for compliance. It takes a couple weeks to spin these things up natively on the ServiceNow platform, and then basically just kind of take advantage of the building blocks that ServiceNow basically gives us. And that's this example like this. We use the same tool to build what we're going to showcase on the webinar today, the learning management system, as we do to build other custom solutions based on unique requirements that our customers have. We can extend the ServiceNow platform using some of the best-in-class technologies available on the market today, like Java and HTML, HTML5, Ajax, and obviously more mobile devices as well. Another example of an application that we built is a custom social data center management solution. A completely custom user interface. You might not recognize it that ServiceNow was serving up the application, but familiar design patterns that you'll probably recognize, and a lot of social integration with other social platforms. So just basically to round out platform as a service and the product team, we also build proprietary integrations to other cloud platforms and have a number of products on the market to extend the ServiceNow platform and really merge various cloud ecosystems together. So we have pre-built connectors to Twilio, BombGuard, Google Apps. We have basically a new mobility practice that builds, takes the iOS platform, Android platform, builds custom mobile solutions on these mobile platforms that integrate and interface with ServiceNow. We have a complete, telephony solution that takes Twilio and does things like allows you to log calls in ServiceNow via a phone call. It allows your instance to make outbound calls for notifications on SLA breaches and things of this nature. And we have hooks in to Google Enterprise if you want to integrate your Google Spreadsheets or your Gmail with your ServiceNow instance, so you can bring ServiceNow tickets directly into an enterprise Gmail account when someone sends a ticket reference to another user. So with that, I'm going to hand off. With that, I'm going to hand off to Shane Brazil and Sal Costa, who will go into the learning management system and proceed with the rest of the webinar.
Right. Thanks, Chris, for the introduction. So I'll go ahead and take presenter. Go ahead and transition that on over here. Okay, so everybody should be able to see my screen now. So like Chris said, we're going to go ahead and kind of cover the learning management system built on top of the ServiceNow platform. And the first part here is the administrative interface. So using the default ServiceNow UI, we actually allow users to come in and dynamically create skill sets, which could be a range of topics, right? And then add lessons to those skill sets so that you can actually walk through several lessons at a time for one skill set and answer questions based on those lessons to test the knowledge that was gained during that session. So a few points here before we actually go and look at that administrative interface is that the nice thing about ServiceNow is they allow us to use HTML content blocks so we can actually embed images and videos in those lessons, as well as even use existing knowledge base articles as lessons themselves. So let's actually take a look there at that functionality so it makes a little bit more sense. So like I said here, we can see that there's a learning management application on the ServiceNow instance with a few modules underneath it, including the skill sets one. So you'll see here on my instance I have 4 different skill sets, right? The one we'll look at today is the IT processes in ServiceNow. So one skill set which groups multiple lessons, and you'll see each of those lessons down here at the bottom that are ordered. So I'll go ahead and order those by the order number we've indicated. So you'll see here that incident management is one of those lessons that we expect to be in a skill set that somebody would have to walk through. So a few things to note here is that you can actually specify a master, right, of this skill set. So we could actually choose Sal as our master, meaning that he actually is one of the service experts of this area. And if there are any questions that maybe he needs to review after they're submitted, they would go to Sal. And then on the right-hand side here, you can see that there's a sum of all the questions that we'll have in each of these lessons, and we actually have points set up for each question. And here you'll see all the points that are possible for this lesson. And then down below, we have this box called points needed. And what this does is we can actually allow a user to take these lessons, and then after they've answered so many questions and earned this many points, we can automatically provision them to a group, right? So in this case, if a user goes through this skill set and answers all the questions associated with these lessons and gains at least 700 out of the 800 points, we can actually provision them to the service desk group, which allows us to actually provision them to the ITIL role if we have it associated with the service desk group, as well as any skills with skills management. So we'll walk through that here in a little bit, but this is kind of the administrative interface or where you set that up, right? So we'll go ahead and walk through the incident management lesson just to give you a feel for what that form looks like here. So you'll see here that we have that HTML content block here. We can include images like I was saying, as well as tables and even videos. So that's all here defined right here. And then also that mention of the knowledge base, right? So why recreate content if you already have a knowledge base article that covers that? So from here you can essentially pick a knowledge base article and then literally use that as your lesson instead. So you're not having to duplicate data anywhere and actually integrate your knowledge base with this learning management solution. So let's go ahead and reload that form back to where it was. Yeah, perfect. And so then down here at the bottom right, we can see that you can actually set up questions per lesson. So here on the administrative interface side, you can see that we have a couple questions, one true, false, one choice, and one short answer question. So the next thing that we're going to cover is the learning management interface itself. So we'll go ahead and just jump right in to what that looks like and walk through actually using it to submit some question answers. So from here you can see a nice little home page, and this is all driven as well from a knowledge base article on the back end. So we actually have a knowledge base article. So easy to edit. It's not requiring you to edit any code, right? It's pulling this content right from the knowledge base. So easy for any admin to edit that text, so we're not actually hard coding anything, right? Up top here, you can see that right now my account is 1,500 points. And we'll go ahead and look at the skills list. So from the back end, we saw that there were 4 different skill sets, each with their own set of lessons. And from here, you can see that we'll go ahead and stick with this IT processes in ServiceNow, and we'll go ahead and look at the incident management lesson. So just like we saw in the back end, right, the images, text, tables, and videos all placed in this lesson, they're all right here displayed up for the end user in this nice UI. And then at the very bottom, after they've gone through this lesson, walking through examples and reading things, maybe even watching videos, at the very bottom there's some questions you can set up on that back end that will display here. And actually you can essentially add points to each one and determine if it's correct how many points they get. And for things like this, what happens where we have these these string questions, right? This isn't something we can automatically say if it's right or wrong. So that's why you would specify a master of that skill set, right? So that if I answer something here, we use the workflow engine in the back end to actually notify the master of this skill set, hey, user ABC answered a string question. Can you go in there and verify that it's correct? And we actually use approval notifications just like you would with change requests, right? So we say, this was the question, this was the answer, and they can actually approve it or reject it even from their email box, so they don't even have to come back into the tool if they don't want. So a couple different options there, but we'll go ahead and answer these questions. So obviously that's false. And then we can use impact and urgency to calculate priority, and not really sure on this one, we'll say. But either way, we'll go ahead and check those answers. And it looks like I was correct, and answer has been submitted for review. Okay, so we'll go ahead and go back to the skills list here. And you'll see that I hit 200 points there, so that's great. So what that does is it actually bumps me up to the next level. So if we look at the badge page here, you'll see that I automatically got provisioned to the 2,000 point badge, which essentially is going to blast out on our company live feed, right? So I don't know how many people on the phone today use our ServiceNow's live feed capabilities. But essentially what happens, right, is that, let me pull it up here. Okay. You see here, maybe it hasn't refreshed yet. Essentially the last badge I earned was a REST integration badge, so that should be popping up here any second. But otherwise, we'll come back and check that again in a second. But essentially here you can see that the service desk group now automatically added me. And if we look at the roles, I linked the ITIL role with this group and a skill of Tier 1 support. So what that does by adding me as a group member, right, is it actually automatically provisions me ITIL and that skill. Just looking at ServiceNow's out-of-box skill management application, for example, on project management, if we actually list a Tier 1 support skill, there's a reference qualifier that ServiceNow provides that will actually limit out your assigned to people based on that skill. So here you see that based on this project task requiring a Tier 1 support skill level, it's only going to show me users with that skill, so I can assign those project tasks accordingly. So let's go ahead and go back here and take a look at the next slide that we have going up. And the next topic is our one of our other internal solutions integrated with our learning management system, which is, we call it Whodunit, which is a tag cloud, which allows us to essentially look at the company as a whole and see who has what skills, and then we can also, grab people to maybe answer questions we have and kind of our repository of knowledge in the company. So we'll go ahead and pull that up here in a second. Let's go here. So like I said, we can actually hover over certain skills. So maybe problem management is one, and we can see here that actually who in the company has those, or vice versa. We can actually take a look at what skills Sal has, right? So we can still see what Sal is an expert at, and when we can rope him in there to help us with certain project tasks that we have. So just another solution there on integrating with that to where we can see one big dashboard of all the different skills our company has and who's an expert in those areas. Whoop, didn't want to hit that button. So that pretty much wraps up just the demo of the learning management solution as it is. So this time, I guess we'll kind of run through some question and answers, and we can run through any more of the demo if you guys want to see anything else. And I'll kind of hand it off to Saul Costa and myself, who will go through those question and answers. Okay, so one of the questions is, what is different between the KB, and learning management. So the knowledge base is somewhere where you're going to store all that, store all the articles that can be linked to different tasks when you're resolving incidents and things like that, right? Or learning management is just utilizing that knowledge base and verifying that your user base has actually gone through, read the article, and actually retained that knowledge, right? So that's why we integrated both, so that if there are articles in your knowledge base that your team uses on a daily basis to resolve incidents, maybe there's a certain step that they should walk through initially to get their feet wet, and then they can actually, be quizzed over what knowledge they retained from those articles at the very beginning. You got another question. Learning management is a request type. I'm not sure I know, I understand that question. So if you can type that out a little bit different, not too sure what's going on there. I don't know if I understand that. Another question, is this an out-of-box plugin or is this installed by Fruition? So this is actually a Fruition product. So it's not an out-of-box plugin. It's actually something we would work with your company to install on your current ServiceNow instance via update sets.
Right, and just to pile on there, Shane. So it's an early beta. This is something that we built to manage learning management and skill management internally to Fruition. But in talking to some of our existing clients, there's been a lot of interest in the field on a solution like this. So we are actually looking for a few launch partners. So if you're looking for a solution such as a learning management system that you can distribute learning modules to individuals and track their progress and give some sort of test to garnish how much of the information they retained. We're happy to kind of basically partner with you and evolve the tool set and tailor it to your existing needs and requirements. So if you are interested in something like this, please feel free to reach out. You can go to their website and you can contact, there's obviously our numbers on the website, or you can send an email to myself or Shane, and we can get you more information on the learning management system. And again, we are looking for a few launch partners to help kind of determine the roadmap on the core set of functionality for the solution, and to kind of take it past the limited beta where it's at now based on our own internal requirements at Fruition. And so we had another question from Shelley. Is there a concept of group training and scheduling? Shane, I'll let you take that one.
Yeah, so currently the way the tool works, it's very self-paced, right? That you can allow your users to essentially take training at their own will. And then obviously keep in mind that with ServiceNow there's a reporting engine on the back end. So some of the topics we've thought about including in the next release of this is essentially mandate so that when a user's account gets created on ServiceNow, you can specify maybe a certain time period they have to complete certain skill set lessons, and then you can do a delta, a reporting on the delta of who's been on the system long enough to where they should have taken these skill sets, and then actually who's actually done that in the right time, right? So currently it is a very self-paced tool, and it's thought to provision users to access the tool after they take these tests. So for example, if I'm a new user to a company, right, and I'm at the support desk, you can actually say, well, you're not going to get ITIL access to the tool until you finish these certain skill sets and lessons. So I'm actually required, right, in a certain time period to take those, just because I won't get ITIL access to the tool until I do complete those. So it's self-paced, but at the same time, if you're using it to provision users, they can't do their job until they get that ITIL access in the tool, and that this is one of the stepping blocks to get that access, right? So,
right, and I think also, this would be a great solution to utilize as part of, your phase 1 rollout of ServiceNow, right? So in conjunction, with the appropriate change management and your corporate communication, you can have a solution like learning management to, ramp all the user base on kind of, the functionality, how to navigate within ServiceNow, what's available out of the box, and even have, customized modules based on a group or user, basically whatever division is going to use it and how they're going to use it. So if one sub-user is going to use it exclusively for change management, you can quickly put together a change management module that would ramp them through. But, basically, the look and feel of ServiceNow, how it functions, how to execute searches, how to do approvals, and basically just use this as a tool to help roll out ServiceNow into the enterprise and track people's progress on proficiency with the tool. And kind of as part of that, we're actually working with our internal training and certification teams, and I think that very quickly we're going to be releasing basic admin training, certification training, and things like this on the learning management platform. So you could quickly ramp your admins and ramp your hire IT, maybe more technical folks on the nuts and bolts and the internal specifics of this solution, how to kind of extend the platform in your enterprise.
Yeah, so we have another question there. Is it a best practice to have knowledge management in place before installing a learning management system? So that's actually a really good question, right? So I think when you're going to implement, a learning management solution, it might be good to work in parallel and implementing your knowledge base. So maybe defining certain topics that you actually want to be in your knowledge base that could also be useful in your learning management system. So I wouldn't think it would have to be in place before you implement learning management, but it might be a good practice to actually implement them in parallel. So you're utilizing your knowledge base when it's needed, and certain topics probably in the learning management system won't have to be in your knowledge base either. So. Another question, learning management is part of the Aspen release question. So no, this is not part of any ServiceNow release or build, right? This is a custom application built by Fruition partners. So this is something that we would essentially work with you to install via update sets. And it's not something that you would get in an out-of-box plugin or a release. This is custom functionality, not built by.
Okay, so unless there's any other questions, I think that's all we had for today. It was a quick one, but I think it showcased a pretty powerful use case of the ServiceNow platform and basically what's possible with the existing tool set and framework that's there. So I just want to thank